What's going on, y'all? Back at you for another edition of Jen's Sports Corner. 5519 Cinco de Mayo. Viva la Mexico. Keep getting that wrong, but it doesn't matter. It's still turning up today for the holiday. Fresh off a Sixers loss, but I still gotta talk about it. So let me get some more people into this live stream so we can really sit down and talk about everything that went on tonight. So bear with me, people. I mean, I want people to be able to come in here and ask their questions and give their thoughts and feedback on the things I'm talking about. So, you know, I just ask for your patience. It's truly appreciated. What's going on, man? Welcome to the live stream. Just getting a couple more people in here because I want to really talk about the Sixers Raptors aftermath and then a little bit about CaneloJacobs from last night. So, I mean, bear with me. Appreciate you tuning in, though. I think we just about good for now. What up, cuz? So, fresh off the conclusion of the Sixers Raptors Game 4 conclusion, and sad to say, but we fell 101-96 to the Toronto Raptors about 10-15 minutes ago. A lot of things I saw that I liked. A lot of things that I didn't like. First and foremost, I actually picked the Toronto Raptors to win this game. And it's not that I necessarily know who's going to win this series, but I felt as though some players that weren't stepping up for Toronto would step up in this game. What's up, Ryan? Welcome. And I just felt as though, in particular, Kyle Lowry would step up in this game, which he did. He wasn't a superstar in this game, but he came out and he was effective on offense in the first quarter for sure. And he had an impact on the game, and he helped them get out. He gave them energy. Yeah, I get you on that. I get you, but from my perspective, appreciate you, cuz. Appreciate you tuning in. I do this podcast. I'm gonna start doing it every Sunday. I'm going to actually do a video, like a scripted video every Sunday. I'm going to plan it for 1 p.m. every Sunday. And then throughout the week, I'll do live videos depending on what sports events are going on during the week. So I think that's the way I'm going to set it up. Just got some new equipment, so I'm going to be setting that up as well, you know, just to progress things forward with the podcast. But yeah, that's going to be the rundown for the podcast. But yeah, for today, I'm doing a live stream, and we're talking about the Sixers, and yeah, it was a letdown loss, but I felt as though the Sixers were going to split at home against Toronto. Well, at least the Game 3 and Game 4. Now, Game 5 is the game where I feel as though whoever wins Game 5 is going to win this series. But looking at Game 4, I saw a lot of things that I liked out of Toronto, and a lot of things I liked out of the Sixers, but I saw more things that I did not like out of Toronto than I did that I didn't like out of the Sixers. Point in check. Toronto, even though the Sixers were missing shots in the first and second quarter, Toronto, their shots were contested that they were missing. The Sixers were missing more open shots off of good looks. And if I'm a Toronto fan, I'm looking at that, and I'm not feeling too great about it if I'm looking objectively going into Game 5 and Game 6. Because you have the Sixers getting low into the paint with Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. You have J.J. Redick getting open three-point shots. He made a lot of them tonight. And you have Siakam really getting a lot of contested looks. And he really wasn't that effective today. I mean, he showed a lot of heart, a lot of grit, but he wasn't really that effective today or the game before. So I think the Sixers are gelling, they're growing, and they're showing a defensive prowess that we did not know that they were capable of. We knew that they had strong defensive capabilities, but now with Jimmy Butler coming out and just showing leadership, and you see like the rotation on defense with the Sixers, every shot is contested, every offensive possession is just a grind for Toronto. And I think that's going to be a big issue for them going into Game 5 and Game 6. So, in my opinion, I have the Sixers winning in 6 games. I did not have them winning this game, but I do believe that the Sixers will win Game 5 in Philadelphia and then Game 6 in Toronto. That's just my feeling, my gut feeling. But based off what I saw in this game, there's a lot to support what I'm feeling at this time. So, I mean, Kawhi Leonard went off as usual. 39 points, 14 boards. Jimmy Butler, 29 points, 11 rebounds. JoJo didn't do too much tonight. I don't know if he had a cold. He was sneezing before the game. Either way, he's going to have to step it up and give you a little more. And not even a lot more. If JoJo gives you a little more, if he gives you 18 points in the next 2 games on average, Sixers win with what Jimmy Butler is bringing you. If he goes and acts like JoJo on a regular basis, they blow Toronto out the water. And that's why I think the Sixers are going to win, because they don't need Embiid to be the MVP caliber player that he's been this entire season. They just need him to be good. You know, and if he's beyond good, they're going to run these guys off the court. So that's just my thoughts on it. It was a letdown loss, but I think that the Sixers will bounce back. And I think it's going to be a slobber knocker, drag out type of series. Neither of these teams are sweet. It's not going to be easy. And even though both sides want their teams to win, I'm enjoying the excitement of having a worthy competitor. Would you have rather the Eagles have beaten, I don't know, somebody else besides the Patriots in that Super Bowl? Or would you have wanted the Eagles to go ahead and beat Belichick and Brady and beat the big bad beast from Boston? You know, that's the way I see it. That's the way I feel about it. But that's that. You know, if you have thoughts about the Sixers, leave them in the comments. You know, I'll give you my thoughts on that. You know, and then the other series as well, Golden State and the Rockets. The Rockets came back and got a much-needed Game 3 win. They needed that win. James Harden had to show up, and they got that dub. So I'm going to be locked into that series as well. I really am interested to see if the Rockets are able to turn this thing around. And even if they don't turn it around, make it a hard-fought, interesting series. Because that's what the playoffs are really about, right? Do you really want to see one team getting steamrolled and the other just kind of like waltzing into the NBA Finals? Nobody wants to see that. And then looking at the Portland and the Nuggets series, I really like the Portland story on how they got here, you know, with the last second buzzer beater against Paul George and OKC. But I just feel as though whether it's the Nuggets or the Trailblazers, unless they show me more, either one of those teams is going to be the sacrificial lamb for the winner of Golden State and Houston. I don't see either of those teams beating Houston. They have a better chance to get Houston, but definitely not Golden State. But, you know, my feelings on the West, I feel as though the East is going to have the winner of the NBA Finals. It's just going to be a matter of who comes out of the East, regardless of who wins in the West. I don't think the Rockets or the Warriors are better than the Bucks, the Sixers, or the Raptors. But that's just my opinion, because the defense is going to show itself when it comes crunch time. But that's just the way I feel. If you differ from my opinion, let me know. That being said, that's my thoughts on the NBA playoffs. You know, I feel as though Boston, you know, before I get off this, I feel as though Boston's having some big issues with Milwaukee. Greek Freak is just kind of like, all right, I need to take over now, and that's what he's going to do. So, it is what it is. Let me get over to boxing real quick, though. Big fight last night on the Zone, DAZN. Make sure you get the app if you don't have it already. A lot of good fighters over there. Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Joshua, heavyweight, you know, a superstar. And then you have Triple G just came over to the Zone for a 6-fight deal. So it's going to be a lot of big fights over there. But there was a really big fight last night. Middleweight unification bout between Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs for the IBF and 2 of the other belts. I believe the WC and the WBC and the WBA. The WBO is held by one of the Charlo brothers. So this was a fight to unify 3 of the belts. Really exciting fight last night. My prediction in my video last night was that Canelo Alvarez would win by decision. It turned out that way on the scorecards. Canelo Alvarez won 115 to 113 on one card, and then 116 to 112, which is the equivalent of 8-4 on 2 of the other cards. So he came out with the unanimous decision, and I agree with the scorecards. And if I could give a half point, I would have scored it 7.5 to 4.5 for Canelo Alvarez, or 115.5 to 11.5 for Canelo Alvarez. I thought it was a very, very good fight. I thought Canelo controlled. I had Canelo up 6-2 in the first 8 rounds, with 1 or 2 swing rounds. And in the last 4 rounds, I had CaneloJacobs winning 3 out of the last 4 rounds. I felt as though if Jacobs would have won at least 1 more out of the first 6 rounds, he could have forced a tie, if not possibly a win. Welcome to the podcast. I'm looking to the camera this time, so I did take the feedback. Talking about a little bit of boxing right now. I don't know if you're into that, but that's what I'm talking about. If you want to hear about the NBA playoffs, once I end this podcast, go a little bit further back into the video, and I talked about the Sixers series, the Rockets and Golden State, Boston and Milwaukee, and then the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. But right now, I'm giving a recap of Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs, and it was a really great fight. I love seeing fights where you're able to unify the belts. First off, there's too many fucking belts in boxing to begin with. It should be more like MMA, where you don't have to worry about who's the champion and this, that, and the third. That's why people don't care about boxing anymore. And, you know, maybe I'm passionate enough where I do care, but at least you have one guy that has most of, if not all, the belts, which is Canelo Alvarez right now at middleweight. It was a great fight. A lot of great punches landed. A lot of action. It wasn't boring. And now you're going to be able to see maybe Canelo Alvarez go after the Charlo brothers to get the last belt. So I'm really interested in seeing that. Another fight I really want to see is Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I don't know if that fight's going to get made. It needs to get made. I don't know if Deontay Wilder lost his freaking pen, but he needs to pick it up and sign on the dotted line so he can get in the ring with Anthony Joshua and unify these belts and stop pussyfooting around, for lack of a better term. That's what I want to see, because MMA has slowly but surely stepped into the limelight. They put on the best fights between the best fighters in their prime. They're not ducking and dodging each other. And that's why people are gravitating over to MMA. And boxing would be on equal footing if they employed the same strategy. I see boxing doing the same thing with apps like DAZN and ESPN Plus, putting on good fights. And hopefully they continue doing that. That's the most I can say on boxing. But yeah, I thought it was a really good fight, and I'm looking forward to Canelo's next fight. I want to see him unify all 4 belts. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Sixers and the Raptors, my post game on game 4, and then my recap on Canelo and Jacobs. If you guys want to hear me talk about other topics, whether it be, you know, football, you know, mini camps or you know, training camp coming up, or even if it's hockey or cricket, there's a lot of things that I look at as well, and I'm going to be employing more into my podcast, so let me know in the comments. That's it for now, but if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll leave it in the description. Gen Music 856. I have 2 playlists, one for sports, where I leave all my podcast videos, and then one for music, where I leave all my music videos and all my news. I just put out a new video, Stevie Franks featuring myself, Tiger's Eye. Make sure you check that out in my music playlist, along with his new album, The Bigger Picture. A lot of new content coming out for you guys each and every week. So make sure you tune in. And like I said, if you have questions, comments, leave it. And I'll be sure to get back to you. And as always, I'll get back at you with the next events. Salute.